Between 2015 and 2024, the FDA classified recalls on roughly 240 packaged salad products linked to Listeria contamination. The grocery stores selling them kept restocking the shelves. But grab your lettuce from the wrong store, and what you're really bringing home is wilted greens harboring E. coli, Listeria, multiplying through broken cold chains, and dangerous bacterial loads disguised as freshness behind mist machines and markdown stickers. If this has been your go-to grocery store for 10, 20, 30 years, everything wrong with their produce department has been on your plate that entire time. We're counting down 11 grocery stores where you should never buy lettuce, from bad to absolute worst. Number 1 is a chain almost every family in its region trusts without question, and it's the most dangerous place to buy your salad greens. Plus, 4 stores that actually get it right. Coming in at number 11, Food Lion. Walk into any Food Lion in the southeast, and the produce section looks fine at first glance. Green enough, wet enough. The mist sprayers cycle on schedule. The fluorescent lights hit every head of romaine at just the right angle. But look closer. Pick up that bag of spring mix. Feel the condensation pooling at the bottom of the bag. That's not freshness, that's decay trapped inside plastic. Food Lion has carried a shadow since 1992, when an ABC investigation exposed employees repackaging expired meat and produce, relabeling old product with new dates, and sending it right back to the sales floor. The chain sued ABC over the methods used to capture the footage. They never once disputed what the footage showed. Decades later, Consumer Reports surveys consistently rank Food Lion's produce selection and freshness near the bottom among national grocery chains. Shoppers report wilted lettuce, brown edges on bagged salads, and greens that collapse into slime within a day or two of purchase. Fresh lettuce doesn't do that. Lettuce sitting in inconsistent refrigeration does. And inconsistent refrigeration creates exactly the conditions for bacterial growth that turns a simple dinner salad into a trip to the emergency room. For anyone over 50 managing kidney conditions or taking immunosuppressive medication, or families with young children building weeknight salads from that bargain produce bin, even mildly deteriorated greens with elevated bacteria counts can trigger gastrointestinal distress severe enough to require hospitalization. Dehydration from foodborne illness at that age isn't an inconvenience, it's a medical emergency. A fresh label on a dying product. They repackaged the truth in 1992. 30 years later, the lettuce tells the same exact story. You'd think spending less just means smaller portions. At the next store, spending less means worse lettuce. At number 10, Pick and Save. The Midwest budget grocer where families stretch every dollar. The weekly circular promises deals on fresh produce. The reality on the ground tells a very different story. Consumer Reports ranked Pick and Save among the lowest scoring chains in the country for produce quality, variety, and freshness. Shoppers report lettuce sitting on shelves past its prime, leaves yellowed at the edges, ribs browning, the kind of greens a conscientious cook would toss, but a budget store considers perfectly sellable. Pick up a head of iceberg here. Squeeze it. Feel how light it is. That's dehydration. The outer leaves crack instead of bending. The core smells faintly sweet, almost fermented. That's lettuce breaking down from the inside out. Here's what makes it genuinely dangerous. Listeria monocytogenes thrives in exactly these conditions. Cold but inconsistent temperatures, produce that lingers too long, surfaces that don't get sanitized often enough. The CDC reports that Listeria is 10 times more deadly for adults over 65 than for younger people. 10 times. For anyone over 50 managing high blood pressure or taking daily heart medication, or families relying on budget salads to eat healthy on a tight income, Listeria doesn't care what you paid. It multiplies the same in a $2 head as in a $5 organic head. The difference is how long it sat on the shelf. Your savings aren't savings if they cost you a week in the hospital. Pick and Save promises value. What they deliver is risk with a receipt. A lot of shoppers switch to discount stores thinking they'd still get decent produce for less. They didn't. Number 9. Grocery Outlet, the bargain hunter's paradise. Name brand products at closeout prices. The treasure hunt concept that makes every trip feel like you're beating the system. But produce isn't a discontinued snack or an overstock candle. Produce has a biological clock. And discount chains don't stop that clock. They just buy it closer to midnight. Consumer Reports gave Grocery Outlet some of the lowest scores of any chain for fresh produce quality. Customers routinely report finding lettuce already browning, slimy on the outer leaves, or past its sell-by date still sitting in the open cooler. Open a bag of their spring mix at home. That smell hits you. Not earthy, not green, something sharper, almost ammonia-like. That's bacterial fermentation underway. Microorganisms breaking down plant cells and releasing gases your nose can detect even when your eyes still see green. Your nose tells you what the price tag won't. Grocery Outlet acquires produce through opportunistic buying, purchasing what other retailers couldn't move fast enough. By the time it reaches their shelves, the freshness window is closing. For adults over 50 who take blood thinners like warfarin, or anyone counting on leafy greens for consistent daily nutrition, degraded lettuce means unpredictable vitamin K levels. That can destabilize your INR and swing your bleeding or clotting risk in either direction. One bad salad can undo weeks of careful dosing. A bargain that destabilizes your medication isn't a deal. It's a gamble with your bloodstream. You paid less at the register. You might pay more at the pharmacy. Grocery outlet is new to many shoppers, but the next store has been taking your money for over a century. At number 8, Stop and Shop, operating since 1914 across the Northeast. Over 100 years of neighborhood grocery service, generations of families buying their weekly salad greens from the same aisles their grandparents walked. That loyalty runs deep. So does the disappointment when you look at the data. Stop and Shop regularly lands on worst produce lists in national consumer surveys. Complaints center on prepackaged lettuce that lacks crispness, limited organic options, and prices that don't match the mediocre quality on those shelves. The bagged romaine hearts feel soft through the packaging before you even reach the cart. The butter lettuce wilts before you finish the drive home. Pull a head of green leaf from the display. Look at the cut end where the stem was severed. Brown, dried, oxidized. That's a head harvested days ago and shipped through a distribution chain that doesn't prioritize speed or temperature control. Fresh lettuce has a white, milky cut end. Dark brown means time has passed. Time means bacteria multiplying. Time means nutrients degrading quietly inside. For people over 50 with type 2 diabetes who rely on salads as a low glycemic staple, or anyone building evening meals around fresh greens to manage blood sugar, buying lettuce that spoils within a day means either eating compromised greens or skipping vegetables altogether. Both outcomes worsen blood sugar control. Both push your health in the wrong direction. 110 years of business. Still can't keep the lettuce fresh. Stop and Shop earned your grandmother's trust. They haven't earned yours. If a century-old chain can't get produce right, surely the stores with deep community roots do better. Right? Wrong. Number 7. Acme Markets. Over 100 years across the Mid-Atlantic. Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland. The neighborhood grocery store where everyone knows the manager by first name. Acme feels reliable. It feels local. It feels safe. Consumer Reports says otherwise. In their national supermarket ratings, Acme ranked 61st out of 68 chains surveyed. 61st. Produce quality was cited as a major weakness by respondents across every region the chain serves, not a minor gripe about one store. A defining, systemic failure across the entire brand. Stand in their produce section any afternoon. Watch the misters spray romaine that's already well past its peak freshness. Lift a bag of chopped salad kit from the shelf. Notice how the leaves have pressed flat against the plastic. No air, no structure, no life left. The cellular walls have already broken down inside that sealed bag. You can smell it through the packaging. Sweet, slightly sour, the unmistakable scent of vegetable matter beginning to rot while still technically on the shelf for sale. For anyone over 50 dealing with chronic kidney disease who needs to carefully monitor potassium intake and bacterial exposure from produce, or families feeding their kids from that produce aisle 3 or 4 nights every week, lettuce from a store with poor cold chain management increases the risk of foodborne illness that can accelerate kidney function decline. A simple salad becomes a medical event. 61st out of 68. That's not middle of the road. That's the bottom of the barrel. A trusted name with a failing grade. Acme has been coasting on reputation while the lettuce rots. The regulators see these rankings. The inspection reports exist, and stores like the next one stay open selling the same lettuce anyway. At number 6, Shaw's, the New England grocer that positions itself as the dependable choice for families who want quality produce in every season. Shaw's stores feel clean, they feel organized, they feel trustworthy. The produce section is well lit and carefully arranged with handwritten signs about freshness. That's the performance they put on for you. Here's the reality behind it. Consumer Reports rated Shaw's among the lowest performing supermarkets in the entire country, not just in New England, nationally. The chain landed near the bottom for both produce freshness and variety, right alongside other chronic underperformers who have been struggling for years to keep lettuce on their shelves that customers would actually want to eat. Reach into the cooler for a clamshell of baby spinach and lettuce mix. Open it at home. Notice the moisture beading on the inside of the plastic lid. That condensation is a warning sign. It means temperature fluctuation between the warehouse and the store shelf. When the cold chain breaks even briefly, dormant bacteria begin multiplying rapidly. By the time you dress that salad for dinner, the colony count may already be in dangerous territory. The CDC specifically warns that contaminated leafy greens pose an outsized risk for adults over 50 on immunosuppressive medications after organ transplants, or for anyone with autoimmune conditions who relies on daily salads as part of their treatment routine. A store with consistently poor produce handling magnifies that danger with every single visit. Shaw's promises New England quality. Their own results tell a very different story. Dependable isn't a word that belongs anywhere near their produce department. Check your fridge right now. If you're near Pittsburgh or Ohio, the next store is probably in it. Number 5 is one most people in its region trust without question. Giant Eagle, the dominant grocery chain across the Pittsburgh and Ohio corridor. The store where Friday night dinner starts with a trip through the produce section, where loyalty cards and fuel perks keep families coming back week after week regardless of what the lettuce looks like. Consumer Reports placed Giant Eagle in the lower third of all rated chains nationally. Shoppers flagged lackluster produce freshness and limited locally sourced options. For a chain dominating a region with some of the most productive farmland in the country, the failure to source locally is a deliberate choice to prioritize cheaper supply chains over fresher lettuce for your family. Pick up their store brand romaine hearts. Unwrap them at home. The outer leaves peel away with a slippery film. The edges are translucent where cells have died. That's not water. That's liquefied plant tissue. Decomposition in slow motion inside the packaging you just paid for. The FDA notes that E. coli and salmonella from contaminated lettuce can cause infections that place extreme stress on a compromised cardiovascular system. For those over 50 with heart disease who build meals around salads, or anyone taking daily medication to manage cholesterol or blood pressure, what Giant Eagle sells as fresh produce may carry pathogens working directly against the prescriptions keeping you alive. Fuel perks don't offset a hospital visit. Regional dominance doesn't mean quality. Giant Eagle controls the market. They don't control the bacteria on their lettuce. If this helps you stay safer at the store, hit subscribe. It's free, and it means you'll never miss these exposés. This next store has a loyal fan base that swears by it. What the data shows is a different story. At number 4, Safeway, one of America's most recognized grocery brands. Over a century in business, millions of customers coast to coast. The name alone feels reassuring. Safe Way. 2 syllables designed to stop you from worrying about what you're buying. Consumer Reports ranked Safeway 58th out of 68 grocery chains. That's not a minor stumble. That's systemic produce failure at massive scale. But here's what makes Safeway genuinely dangerous. They share supply chains with packaged salad producers recalled again and again. Between 2015 and 2024, the FDA classified recalls on approximately 240 packaged salad products for potential Listeria contamination. Safeway's shelves carried those products. Their distribution networks moved those bags. Walk through their produce aisle. Pick up a bag of pre-washed salad kit. Read the fine print on the back. You'll find facility codes tracing to the same centralized plants implicated in multiple recalls. That pre-washed label does heavy lifting. It makes you think the lettuce is clean. What it means is someone else handled it, stored it, and decided it was good enough to sell to your family. For people over 50, Listeria can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause meningitis. The fatality rate in older adults approaches 20 to 30%. For seniors managing multiple prescriptions alongside daily salad routines, or families buying convenience salad kits to save time on weeknights, that bag of pre-washed romaine may be the most dangerous item in your cart. Safeway? The name is the single biggest lie in the produce aisle. We're not done. The next store on this list is one you'll find in almost every American suburb. And what Consumer Reports found about their produce section will change where you shop permanently. Think you've been making the smarter choice by shopping at a big-name national retailer? Wait until you see what convenient really costs you. This next one might surprise you. Target, the red bullseye, the store that turned grocery shopping into a lifestyle experience. Target markets its grocery expansion as a convenient one-stop shop, and millions of shoppers assume that a retailer this large and this polished must maintain high standards for its produce. They don't. Consumer Reports gave Target some of its lowest produce scores across all rated chains. Multiple industry assessments describe Target's produce section as a tiny afterthought wedged between aisles of clothing and home decor. Limited selection, prepackaged lettuce priced higher than dedicated grocers charge, and turnover so slow that greens sit under fluorescent lights far longer than any leaf should. Open a clamshell of Target's organic spring mix. Look at the edges. Browning already. Smell it. Not fresh, not vibrant, flat and stale. The leaves are limp before you dress them. That's produce treated as an add-on to a store designed to sell clothing and throw pillows. The lettuce isn't the priority at Target. It never was. Adults over 50 with hypertension following the DASH diet rely on fresh leafy greens daily. For anyone building heart-healthy meals around salads, or families trying to make one shopping trip count for everything from paper towels to dinner ingredients, consistently subpar lettuce quality makes it harder to maintain the dietary habits that keep blood pressure under control without adding another prescription to the pile. Target charges more for less freshness, less variety, less reason to trust that bullseye. Convenient shopping, inconvenient consequences. Drop a comment if you've ever bought lettuce at Target thinking it was just as good. Let's see how many of us made that mistake. That was bad. But the next store makes Target's produce section look almost acceptable. Number 2. Walmart Supercenter, the largest grocery retailer in America. Millions of families on fixed incomes, millions of bags of lettuce rolling through checkout every single week. Walmart is where America buys its food, and America deserves to know what it's actually getting. Consumer Reports ranked Walmart 67th out of 68 chains, the lowest possible marks for produce quality across the entire board. That's a national consumer assessment, placing the biggest grocery seller at the very bottom. Stand in a Walmart produce section at 8 in the morning. The lettuce has been out all night. Heads of icebergs sit in open bins under white light, warming to ambient temperature. Bags of salad stacked too high for the cooler to circulate. Touch the bags on top. Room temperature, not cold anymore. And Listeria loves that transition zone between cold and warm. The USDA's 2024 E. coli outbreak, linked to slivered onions at affiliated supply chains, raised broader questions about Walmart's produce sourcing and cold chain integrity. The CDC estimates people 65 and older account for 27% of salmonella hospitalizations and the majority of Listeria deaths in America. For anyone over 50 on a fixed income relying on Walmart's prices to eat healthy, or families stretching a grocery budget across multiple mouths every week, the cheapest lettuce from the lowest-ranked produce department dramatically increases your exposure to the pathogens that hospitalize older adults at the highest rates. The price tag says $1.49. The hospital bill says otherwise. The biggest isn't the best. It's nearly the worst. The number 1 spot goes to a store that shares a distribution network linked to multiple Listeria recalls, and it's a name almost everyone in its city trusts completely. The next store was connected to a major Listeria recall that pulled bags off shelves nationwide, and it's probably where someone you know bought salad this week. Number 1. The worst place to buy lettuce in America. Jewel Osco, a household name across the Chicago metro area. Generations of Midwest families have trusted it for their weekly romaine, their bags of pre-washed spring mix. The store on the corner, the one you've walked into your entire life. Consumer Reports placed Jewel Osco at 59th out of 68 chains, not the absolute bottom. So why is it number 1 here? Because of what sits behind the ranking. Jewel Osco shares Albertsons' centralized distribution network. That network has been linked to multiple packaged salad recalls. In 2022, a major Listeria recall forced removal of bagged salads from shelves supplied through shared processing facilities. The same facilities that package lettuce for Jewel Osco, the same conveyor belts, the same cold storage, the same contamination risk through the same system. Open a bag of their Caesar kit. The dressing pouch sits pressed against the leaves for days. Moisture collects. The lettuce beneath goes soft, translucent, borderline slimy. That's where pathogens thrive, in warm, wet pockets forming inside sealed packaging when temperature control fails anywhere in the chain. Listeria infections are disproportionately fatal in older adults. For anyone over 50, or families feeding children from that produce section every weeknight, a store sourcing lettuce through a distribution system with repeated contamination events is the riskiest place to buy your salad greens. Repeated recalls, shared contamination, your family's go-to store. That's not coincidence, that's a pattern. And patterns don't fix themselves. What's the worst lettuce you've ever brought home from the grocery store? Drop it in the comments. I want to know which stores let you down. 11 stores, 11 produce departments that don't deserve your trust or your money. But don't give up on salad. 4 stores prove you can still buy lettuce that's actually fresh, actually safe, and actually worth eating. Wegmans. Walk into the produce section and you can feel the difference before you see it. The air is noticeably cooler. The lighting is calibrated to preserve freshness, not just display it. The lettuce isn't piled in open bins warming under fluorescent tubes. It's arranged in refrigerated displays with visible rotation schedules that would make most other grocery managers nervous. Consumer Reports consistently ranks Wegmans number 1 or 2 among all grocery chains in the country, the highest possible scores for produce quality, variety, and locally sourced options. This isn't marketing copy or a press release. This is the most rigorous consumer survey in America saying, Wegmans does produce better than virtually everyone else in the business. Pick up a head of their romaine. Feel the weight in your hand, dense, hydrated, crisp. The cut end is white with a milky sheen, meaning it was harvested recently and stored correctly at every point in the supply chain. Snap a leaf. It breaks clean with an audible crack. That's cellular integrity. That's lettuce that hasn't been sitting in a warehouse for a week. Wegmans sources from carefully vetted regional farms and pulls produce well before sell-by dates. Their cold chain discipline means leafy greens arrive with minimal bacterial growth, reducing the risk of Listeria and E. coli exposure that disproportionately hospitalizes adults over 50. Rapid turnover means your lettuce was in a field days ago, not weeks ago. That difference is everything when it comes to your safety and your family's health. If you have a Wegmans within driving distance, it is absolutely worth the trip for produce alone. Sprouts Farmers Market. This chain built its entire identity around produce, and it shows the moment you walk through the front door. Roughly 20% of Sprouts' total floor space is dedicated to fresh fruits and vegetables. That's more than double what conventional grocers typically allocate. The produce section isn't an afterthought shoved into a corner near the deli. It's the front door of the store. You walk past mountains of leafy greens before you see a single box of cereal or bag of chips. Sprouts works directly with growers, cutting out layers of middlemen and warehousing delays. They offer extensive organic and non-GMO certified leafy greens, and they price organic lettuce competitively with conventional options at other stores. Consumer Reports and independent assessments from organizations like Checkbook rate their produce among the best in the country. Hold their organic butter lettuce in your hand. The leaves fan out like petals, soft but not limp. No browning at the edges, no slime on the stems, no ammonia smell hiding beneath the packaging. Just the clean, faintly sweet scent of lettuce that was grown properly and stored with genuine care. For people over 50 managing cholesterol or blood pressure, or anyone trying to reduce their daily pesticide exposure from years of buying conventional produce, affordable access to organic lettuce fundamentally changes the equation. Harvard researchers have linked lower pesticide residue intake to better cardiovascular outcomes and reduced hormonal disruption over time. Sprouts makes that healthier choice accessible without demanding a premium price tag. Fresh, organic, affordable. 3 words most grocery stores can't put together honestly. Sprouts built an entire business around delivering all 3. H-E-B. If you live in Texas, you already know. If you don't, here's what you're missing. H-E-B partners with local Texas and regional farms to source lettuce that often travels significantly shorter distances than the national average of 1,500 to 2,500 miles. Shorter distance means less time between harvest and your refrigerator. Less time in transit means fresher leaves on your plate. Fresher leaves mean lower bacterial counts and higher nutrient density in every single bite. The chain earned top marks in multiple Consumer Report surveys for produce quality and provides in-store signage showing exactly where your lettuce was grown. Not a vague region or a country of origin. The actual farm name. That level of sourcing transparency is nearly unheard of in mainstream American grocery retail today. Their private label organic lettuce meets USDA organic certification standards, and the produce teams in every store rotate stock aggressively throughout the day. You won't find last week's romaine hiding behind this week's delivery at H-E-B. Pick up a head of their locally sourced green leaf lettuce. The leaves spring back when you press them. The color is vivid, deep green fading to pale chartreuse near the heart. That vibrancy means the lettuce is still photosynthesizing, still alive, still packed with nutrients. For adults over 50 with diabetes or prediabetes, who depend on fresh greens for stable blood sugar management, or families who simply want to know exactly where their dinner came from tonight, H-E-B's shorter supply chains mean less time for dangerous pathogens to multiply between the field and your fork. Local farms, transparent sourcing, lettuce that's still alive when you buy it. That's what every grocery store should look like. Whole Foods Market, the store everyone loves to mock for its prices. But here's what those prices actually buy you in the produce aisle. Whole Foods bans over 70 pesticides and other chemical substances that conventional grocers freely allow on lettuce and leafy greens. 70 chemicals that other stores in this country consider perfectly acceptable are banned from Whole Foods' produce supply chain entirely. Their lettuce meets USDA organic standards across much of their selection, and their sourcing requirements have been independently verified by Consumer Reports, which gives them commendable marks for both produce quality and overall variety. Pick up a head of their organic romaine. The leaves are thick, turgid, and deeply ridged. Snap one in half. It breaks with a clean crack and releases the sharp, grassy scent of lettuce that was grown right and handled with real care from field to shelf. No sweetness, no sourness, no off-putting warning signs. Just the clean smell of actual produce. For people over 50 concerned about cumulative pesticide exposure from decades of conventional produce, or anyone who has spent a lifetime buying bagged salads without ever wondering what was sprayed on the leaves before they were sealed in that bag, Whole Foods' banned substance list offers a measurable, verifiable layer of protection that most chains simply do not provide. The Environmental Working Group and Harvard researchers have connected long-term pesticide exposure to increased cancer risk and hormonal disruption. Decades of daily salads with conventional lettuce add up inside your body. Whole Foods is where that math starts working in your favor. Yes, it costs more, but you're not paying for a brand. You're paying for standards that protect you. Drop a comment with where you buy your lettuce. Let's build a list of the stores that actually care. Your next salad deserves better. Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.